Jeffrey's missing his water. That's a lifestyle choice. So what do you eat? What's the measure of what you eat? When do you eat it? You'll be surprised that is just as important. How often do you rest? Okay, so those are the questions that will be coming through on this particular segment. Lifestyle choices. Some of them healthy, some of them unhealthy. So to put us through this, we have joining us right here in our Lagos studio, Dr. Harun Yusuf, founder, Love for Health. Good morning, Doctor.
Good
Thank
morning.
you so much for holding on.
It's a pleasure. You're welcome.
Yeah, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Before we begin to look at what's healthy, what we should be doing that is healthy, take us through 1 or 2, 3 examples of those things that are unhealthy for us, but we somehow cannot help it. We do it all the same.
This is a very important question because unhealthy lifestyle are habits or behaviors that negatively impact an individual's life, which could be physical, emotional, or even mental. Now, some of the unhealthy habits that we do, either subconsciously or consciously, deliberately, without knowing, include our diet. There's a common saying that you are what you eat. So when we eat food that is not balanced diet or that contain harmful substances, but we don't know. Example of these are refined products. Most of this fast food, most of these sugar intakes, some of them are manufactured products that are very, very harmful. There are many times on social media, they show the video of how some of these products are being made, and we can wonder, for example, ketchup, not the regular ketchup, but there are some kind of ketchups that are imported, and they are just chemicals, they are artificial. Some of them are GMOs, and these things are carcinogenic, or they have a higher tendency of causing cancer. Another unhealthy lifestyle we do is alcohol consumption. Many people are guilty of it, but excessive intake of alcohol can also affect the liver, causing liver cirrhosis, can even lead to cancer, and it can cause even hypertension, diabetes, and many deleterious effects in the body. The third one again is smoking. Tobacco smoking, they contain nicotine, which is very harmful to the body, to the lungs. Cancer, lung cancer, is the highest and the most fatal cancer in the whole world. And one of the greatest risk factors to it is smoking. Now, the question is, someone might say, hey, I don't smoke, but it's not only cigarette smoking. We're in an environment where we're exposed to fumes, to smoke, to generator exhaust, to industries that are generating waste, and we are inhaling them. All this can also be unhealthy to our body. Then comes sleep. Many of us don't have adequate sleep in the night, and this can lead to stress, and it can lead to unhealthy behavior. We are surprised that in Africa, Nigeria in particular has one of the lowest life expectancy in the world, about 54 years. So that means, as a Nigerian, if you are 54 years and you are living, you are told to have lived long, compared to Monaco, which has the highest life expectancy in the world, and that is 84 years. And what are the things that affect our healthy lifestyle? Apart from our personal choices, it's what we call a socioeconomic status, or SES. So we also know that a society that have a higher GDP, which is reflecting in our society, not the mathematical or theoretical GDP they post on social media that Nigeria has, and yet we see that we can't even afford 3 square meals, we can't afford balanced diet. So Monaco is a good example. Another country is Japan. Japan's life expectancy is 83 years. Before, Japan's life expectancy was even 94 years. When I was in secondary school, we used to read that. But what happened? Japan also started imbibing this unhealthy lifestyle from the West. All these fast foods went there, all their lifestyle, all the cigarette smoking, all this Western lifestyle has really affected. Also, we in Africa, before, our fathers used to live healthy, but because of this importation of Western lifestyle, Western culture, we also imported diabetes, hypertension, cancers, and different disorders that is affecting us in this society. So a major question I always ask, Jeffrey, is what really sculpts our personality? Is it our nature or is it our nurture? A research was done in the United States. What really makes us? So twins were taken. One twin was transferred to a place like Africa. Another one was transferred to a Western world like America. And 2 of them were given different diets, different lifestyles. And it came up that 2 of them grew up differently. One of them had a more successful life, and that is where socioeconomic status comes in, because there is adequate food, there's healthcare. Healthcare is one of the major reasons why Monaco people live long. The government takes care of health. I've always said this. When I was in medical school, there was a patient, a young girl who developed diabetes, and she went into complications called DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis. And in this case, she became unconscious. She needed just insulin. At that time, when I was in medical school, insulin was just 2,000 naira. Our family could not afford it. Nobody was able to pay for it, and she died. I also practiced in Saudi Arabia, where there was a driver who smokes. He lives an unhealthy life. He had diabetes. He had an accident, fractured his leg. But because the healthcare system in Saudi Arabia is free for all citizens only, he was able to walk after a few months. So if a man in Nigeria has a fracture and is diabetic, is elderly, he smokes, the chances of him walking again is maybe until Jesus comes back.
So, you know, in fact, let's
to chew on there, Jeffrey.
There's a lot to process from what you said. Before we get to the government, because that's another kettle of fish, government and their responses and responsibilities, especially at the primary healthcare level, which is, for me, any government that has not been able to fix, if you like, have the best tertiary institution and all of that, that first response point called PHC is, because that's where the people who don't have are, and they will be able to, you know, enjoy whatever it is called dividend of democracy. But talking about this on a healthy lifestyle, I want you to speak to the issue of stress. I want you to dwell on stress for a bit, because Nigerians are stressed by what is going on in the country, the management of the economy. I'm not just talking about under President Bola Tinubu, successive government. Right now, our purchasing power has reduced drastically. People are struggling. And then they are trying to make ends meet. And you're telling them not to rest. That rest is part of what is needed to be able to live healthy. So if they rest, they feel that they are going to be poor, they are not going to be able to afford. So talk about, in a situation like that we found ourselves, how do we manage stress effectively?
This is a very, very important question, Jeffrey, and this is one of the causes of unhealthy lifestyle that could lead into what we call mental disorder. Somebody who has persistent stress can develop high blood pressure, hypertension. The person can develop mental illness. This kind of person can even develop, sometimes you see this person having obesity and you may think the person is healthy. No. Sometimes someone develops obesity as a result of stress. Then there's something called stress ulcer. Someone can even develop ulcer, a physical. So there's something we call psycho in the mind, somatic. Soma means the body, psychosomatic illness. From this stress that you talked about, the person might have insomnia, lack of sleep. When the person doesn't sleep well, then the person starts to develop what? High blood pressure, hypertension. The person starts to develop, can develop diabetes, can develop obesity, can develop different disorders. And you are absolutely right, because stress has a direct correlation. I took my time this morning to make research on why the top 5 countries in the world, their life expectancy is way above others. Some people might look at it and think America will be among the top 5. No. America is the country I've been, and I noticed that they are also stressed there, if not even more than Nigeria. Many of them are living in Section 8. Many of them they are called baby mamas. Many of the women are going through stress. Many of the men also, they are into drugs. And drug is also one of the causes of unhealthy lifestyle. So stress is something which is global. And I'm happy you said not just under a political government. It is something which should be seen as a general concept. It's mostly in many parts of the world we can't imagine. The suicide, even over there, is higher than here. Nigeria, we have something called the factor, or H factor, or T factor, a way we control ourselves or we make ourselves happy. That's why Nigeria was termed happiest nation in the world. Despite the stress we are going through, I can still imagine I see someone selling on the street and they are still smiling, despite the hardship, despite what we are going through. But irrespective of this, it is affecting our life. And that is why if you take somebody from Nigeria to one of these countries where they have higher life expectancy, there's a tendency this person will live longer compared to Nigeria. And now, one major factor or one major consideration is who is really going through more stress, or who is having a higher risk of unhealthy life. Is it the man or the woman? So, Jeffrey, I don't know if you can...
You're the doctor.
Yeah. Exactly. So you give
the
us
man
the
is the
demography.
one. The man, males. That's why men die younger.
Is it that their threshold to... I'm looking for the right word. Their stress threshold is lower than that of women, because I spoke to a psychologist, a clinical psychiatrist, and all of those your expertise, and they are saying that, let's use, for instance, suicide. They say women contemplate suicide more, but men complete it.
Absolutely.
And so they gave all this, and
yes,
they
you are
even
right.
said that the Orthodox may live longer than the Protestant because of the confession system and all of that. So is it that women have a stronger threshold in terms of absorbing shocks than men?
I believe the hormonal level in women also, they have estrogen, oxytocin. They have a way of coping with stress, because women naturally cope with stress every time, from motherhood to childbirth to their regular monthly. They are coping. But men, on the other hand, when they have stress, they go into doing something that will cause more stress, smoking. Some men, when they are angry, that is when they go to smoke cigarette. That cigarette they are smoking is providing a pseudo effect of calmness, but it is worsening their health. So that is the difference between a man and a woman. A woman may show some stress, she might do everything, then crying might even help relieve stress better than even smoking or drinking, which men do. So men engage in more unhealthy lifestyle. That's why they have a higher tendency to die young. Then look at physical activities. So men take their lives to risk in doing different things. Driving faster, women don't drive as horrible as men. So accidents, more men are involved in road traffic accidents than women. More men are involved in suicidal activities. More men are involved in gangsterism. More men are involved in things that could affect our lifestyle. More men are the ones who would not sleep in the night. They either
I feel like you should be looking at that camera and be talking to them.
Okay.
No, on this particular more men matter.
So the fact is that men have higher risk factors to unhealthy lifestyle than women. They are more involved in drugs. They are more involved in alcohol consumption, excessive, involved in smoking, involved in reckless lifestyle, road traffic accidents, stress. And when they have this stress, for example, things are expensive in the society, the economy is bad, they go back to doing things that would worsen their stress situation, like smoking, drinking, taking drugs, marijuana, cocaine, different addictives, codeines that will worsen their health status. That's why men have a higher rate of hypertension and diabetes and all other mental illnesses compared to women.
Well, so many light bulb moments for me, and these are some of the things that you've mentioned are things that we take for granted. For instance, you said women cry more, and that's the truth. You know, for some men have been nurtured to believe that crying is a sign of weakness.
Crying is good. Yeah. Particularly when we lose a loved one, it's good you cry well, and it's even good to cry alone so that you don't gain public sympathy. Cry enough and ease out the stress from you. Crying is therapeutic. I recommend it. Cry when you are alone, not where people are, so that they don't think you're just trying to gain sympathy. No, you could lock the door, cry, then clean your tears, then come out and smile to people. Nobody should know what is really burning inside you, except somebody who can help you to relieve your stress. Because a European man, not a European, a white man, let me say that, he was teaching his students, and he said, do you know that 90% of people in the world cannot help your situation? So when you tell them your stress problem, they might even have worse than yours, and they would add to it, or they would carry your stress situation to tell other people, worsening it. So most of the time, we have to develop a coping mechanism on how to, and I can say this for free, everybody goes through stress, even the most influential person in the world, even the richest man. There was a common program we used to watch when we were kids, the rich also cry. Even the rich, even the presidents, even their kids, even the celebrities, they also go through hardship. Even theirs may be more than ours.
All right, so let's talk about the coping mechanism now, and this is where the deficit may come in, the deficit that Jeffrey talked about earlier. But how do we then navigate those deficits? For instance, let me put it in proper context. In other countries of the world, in other climes, you find that everything that you require for a healthy lifestyle has been put in place. You have a sports facility in your community, you have a primary health care system. In your benefits, in your package at your place of work, you probably have vacation component as well, but you don't find that in these parts. Vacation is a luxury rather than a necessity. So for those of us, in this climb who also want to live a healthy life, what are the options available to navigate all of these deficits?
Yes. I will even answer both questions, because Jeffrey also mentioned primary healthcare, and you also mentioned primary healthcare in Nigeria, unfortunately, without bias and without, I'm not saying it's this present dispensation, it has been in a deleterious state for decades. The primary healthcare in the whole Nigeria is nothing to write home about. I practice in primary healthcare in Saudi Arabia. I was in primary healthcare in the United States, and I see how it is. You don't need to go to a secondary healthcare, which is general hospital, if we were to call it in the late term, unless the primary healthcare cannot attend. But our society is so decayed that anybody that has a major, let me not say major, even a primary case, they go to general hospital. No. So I strongly recommend that we should revisit our primary health care and make it functional. There are some primary health cares, even in our society, that are not functional. The building itself can cause more stress to you. Some of these primary health cares, if you enter that building, you will get sicker. There's something called nosocomial infection. You may even get, you have a problem, you go to that primary health care and you carry more problem when you are leaving because of the state of the health care. It's so dirty.
I think Aproko doctor did something in
it is, yeah. It is worse than even how it is. The primary health care in other places, there are computers there, there's nice structures there, everything is there. And most importantly, primary health care should be absolutely free. That's why it's called primary health care. It should be the basic care where people have accessibility to health. And that was the recommendation of World Health Organization, providing health for all. But we've passed this, was it 2000, health for all in 2000, we're in 2025, 25 years after, we don't still have this basic health for all in our society.
So the other coping mechanism?
Now, coping mechanism, exercise is one of the things, and that's where sports comes in. Very, very important. Secondly is adequate rest. No matter the problem you have, I've not paid my house rent, I've not been able to buy fuel. Fuel is now up to 900. This thing is happening. As far as you are alive, just don't worry too much and try to be able to be happy. So relieve your stress, rest well, exercise, eat well, avoid smoking. All what I'm saying, I know many people watching, this doctor is saying theory, but it's just the reality. Alcohol intake, reduce it. If you can stop it, stop it. It has long-term effects on all organs. The kidney, causing renal failure, it can have liver cirrhosis, it can even cause hypertensive heart disease and further involved into myocardial infarction. So we should avoid all these things. Then eat balanced diet, eat lots of fruits, take lots of vegetables. Many of us are bad in taking vegetables. And not only individuals, even medical doctors. I've seen doctors who practice unhealthy lifestyle. Then there's something which we shy away from. We, particularly men, are more responsible and guilty for this. Sexual promiscuity. That is also an unhealthy lifestyle. And men are the ones who are most involved in this sexual promiscuity, because we are the ones spreading, not me, but they are the ones spreading HIV, gonorrhea, syphilis, and these are another unhealthy lifestyle, causing different diseases all over the society.
Oh, Dr. Yusuf, it seems you came for the men today. But clearly, it's an ongoing conversation, and we'll bring Dr. Yusuf back. Thank you so much for your time on the program today. Dr. Harun Yusuf is the founder, Love for Health. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
And